10:37 a.m., 5 November 23. I'm watching my dove and serpent reading for 5 November 23, Sunday, 23rd, Sunday after Pentecost or something like that. I don't know. And that one's still connected. Paul is talking about how there's a storm ahead, and you want to be able to be driving at a speed where you can slow down and alter your course, go around the storm. Maybe, it's going to slow you up a little bit. Maybe you'll be a couple days late. It's amazing how he got that exactly right. But you'd show up all in one piece and healthy. And I'm like, well, that way he's talking is about this one class that I kept screwing up at San Jose State. I kept feeling like I was running into a wall, and I couldn't get over it. And I realized at one point, if you can't climb over it, you got to find a way around it. And I did. So, yeah, it is very similar to something he also just said. But the part with going around this storm, he's forgetting. I'm Sagittarius. Second time I took my motorcycle from San Jose, California to Gaylord, Michigan. When I went back to help my brother build his house, I took off school and just hit the road. And right there in Nevada, I was riding, I'm going, and I had my shirt up over my head and my jacket open. It was just a beautiful hot Nevada day, and I'm cruising across the desert, and from over there, I saw these clouds, and they were like the fingers of God reaching down, coming. I looked, I said, holy fuck, and I just nailed it. I'm going, trying to get past this thing. I could see it coming. It was about to hit me, and I said, and damn, it hit me right in the side on the motorcycle. It blew me all the way over into the left lane, and I was like, wow, and I kept it up, and and it's lucky there was no car there. There was no stopping it. And so I'm like, riding, and it's hailing, and it's just it cleaned all the bugs off of my visor, but it was just cutting into my skin. I'm like, and I said, oh man, I gotta stop. So I pulled over, and I got on the side of the road, and the bike was on its kickstand, and I got on the other side of it so the wind wouldn't blow it over, and I'm sitting there holding this thing up, and it's this horrific storm. It was awesome. And a station wagon comes up like they do in the movies, and they get their whole family killed by Rutger Hauer. You should be careful who you're willing to help without knowing them a little bit first. And it pulled over, and the guy came in up. They rolled down the window, and their kids in the back, and the mother and the father, and the mother's out the window. It could have been my own mother, and time's gone past. My mother was still alive, though. So this woman says, hey, do you want to get in out of the rain? And I'm like, no, I'm all right. I had my rain gear in my pack and everything, but it was too late to put it on. This storm was magnificent. It was exactly the kind Paul is talking about. And I sat there long enough, probably 3 to 5 minutes, and I said, if I don't get ahead of this thing, I'm going to be following it the whole way home. And I was on limited funds. I said, screw it. I got back on, and I blew in through it. I'm like, and it's everybody on the road was pulled off the road, and I'm just blowing through it. And I broke through to the other side, and I had cuts and bruises all over. I rode through a hailstorm, man, 70 miles an hour. Maybe not 70. I was going fast. Who's telling how fast you can go before you get split right in two? And I got out of it. And so I'm like, okay. And I ride. That trip alone, I did a 27-hour straight trip, and then 22 again the next day. I ride, and So I got ahead of it, and I had to make a decision because I could see there was stuff up ahead of me too. I said, I just got to stay in the middle of this thing. And so I kept going, and I was in the middle of the storm all the way across the states. I even stopped in, I think, Hays, Kansas, and it was like late at night. Went to a VFW hall, had a beer. They give you your first one for free once they see you're a card-carrying member, because they don't want to believe it at first, and you don't belong in the VFW if you're not a veteran of a foreign war or somehow affiliated. And those are great places because they always tell you where there's a good place to stay. So the guy told me where there was a motel right down the road. And I said, okay. So I got on my bike and I rode there. And that was a different trip. Either way, that's how it works. The coyote that I saw, it was a different trip. But it's about the same sense. And so I got to the place about 2 o'clock and slept until 4:30. I watched. I had to get a hotel with Weather Channel, so I watched that before I went to sleep, and I slept for 2.5 hours about. And I got up and I looked at the weather again. I'm like, wow, I'm still right in the middle of it. Yeah, it was huge and beautiful. And I got back out on the road, and I ate breakfast by the freeway and hit it, and the sun was just coming up. But as I rode onto the freeway, it became a total patch of fog. It was thick like cotton, and I was like, there's no way I can stop now. I'm gonna be behind this. And so I just took the center. I couldn't see anywhere. I pulled into a rest area at first because it's like, we gotta stop, and everybody was pulled over in the rest area, and they're like, we can't drive in this. And I'm like, God, if I get out there right now, I know there's nobody on the road. And so I took a pee, and I got out there, and I took the center lane. I could see the center lane ahead of me, but I couldn't see anywhere else. I'm serious, it was like dirty cotton. And I'm riding through that, and I went at 80. I gotta get through. And so all along the way, I just risked it and rode it just the way Paul says I'm not supposed to be doing. And I got through it, and I made it to like near Vincennes, Lyons, Indiana, at about 7, 8 in the morning to where I was going. And I was all right. But the interesting thing, the friend I was going to see, who was pretty much a schmuck and not very good at anything, he was in the Army with me, had a real bad drinking problem. That's what killed him in the end. But I got there just in time for his brother, who lived in the house with him. He was coming out, Jerry was coming out. And I said, and he's like, oh, Judas? I said, where's Scomp? He says, he's on business in Washington. He was on business on a trip. And it was like me coming through that fog out on the other side, seeing a demon at the end of it by the cemetery, and then by the funeral home too. And then the people at the store saying I'd be okay. After all that, the world had changed. And I closed down all my bank accounts. And I kept going. Now, it's time for me to figure out where it is I'm supposed to be going. We love you, Paul.